No one was ever allowed to go to my friend's house after 10 p.m. And now I know the reason why, because what I saw, people. Story time. So I've known this friend for a very, very long time. We even attended the same university together. She's the most liveliest person, the most, happy girl. She posted everything about her life on social media. She was also outgoing and loving, very kind as well, and bubbly. But ever since she got married to her husband, I noticed that she had completely changed. It was like she was a complete different person to the friend that I knew, the friend that I went to university together, because she no longer posted on social media. She no longer she was quiet, different, reserved, and also time conscious. If ever she invited you to something, you were never allowed to be a minute late or a minute early. Also, she had this one rule that you were never allowed in her house after 10 p.m. She completely cut us all out, cut everyone out in her life. Her husband, very kind, they both loved each other. They both it made everyone jealous, wanting to have a husband like him. But then again, who are we to judge whatever, she decides to do with her life? She started having us back in her life and she invited me. She said, I just want us to catch up. I want us to, just like old times. So why don't you come over to my house? Let's have a couple of drinks, catch up, chat, watch some movies and so on. I agreed to it because I've not seen her in a very, very long time, ever since she got married to her husband. So I was happy. But she told me that I was never allowed to be a minute early or a minute late. Also, after 10, I was never allowed near her house or even to come to her house. I agreed and I didn't want to upset her because this is a friend that we've known who is very lively, bubbly. And all of a sudden, she cut all of her out of her life. And then now, we've been given that opportunity again. So I didn't really want to mess things up. So I agreed. We set a date, and the day comes, I go to her house. I arrived there, bang on at 4, like she told me. She welcomed me into her house, took me to the living area. But as soon as I entered the house, I could smell food smell. It was so delicious, and you couldn't resist it. And I saw on the table, she had this massive feast, all different kind of food on the table, which is what I could smell. And I thought to myself, that's too much food for just 2 people. But anyway, I didn't ask questions. I sat down, she brought me drinks and also some snacks. Then we started chatting and she brought more drinks and more snacks. And she put on a movie. The movie went on for a very, very long time. After that movie finished, she put on the next movie and we start chatting and watching, but then she soon dozed off. I didn't want to wake her up. And, I went to the toilet. After the toilet, I decided to just have a nosy around just to see, just to look around her house and, what it's like. I'm very nosy. This is who I am and I can't change it. I can't help it. When I came back down, I noticed that the clock, it was 10 and I didn't want to wake my friend up. And I knew at this point I couldn't leave. I was so hungry as well, so I decided to just help myself with some of the food on the table. After I ate, I just tiptoed to the kitchen to go wash my hands and the plate. I was careful not to make any noise to wake her up, but my scream soon woke her up because what I saw, I could not scream, people. Tell me why. I saw creepy crawlies on the plate that I had just eaten, maggots as well. When I turned around and looked at the table, people, all the food were filled with creepy crawlies and maggots. I didn't know what was going on. I started coughing out maggots and these creepy crawlies. My friend soon rushed to the kitchen and she said, "What have you done?" I saw the look of anger, disappointment on her face. She said, "Who gave you permission to eat that food? Because I never gave you permission to eat that food." So she turned around, looked at the clock again, and she said, "You cannot leave the house. The guests will soon be arriving." I looked at her very confused and I said, "What guest?" He said, "I have got no time to explain to you. You must hide." So I was hiding in a cupboard. Soon after, the door swung open. Then I saw all these strange creatures floating in midair into her house, and I didn't know what the heck was going on. I wanted to shout, but I couldn't. I could hear my own heartbeat. I trembled. I was sweating out of nowhere. I wanted to scream. I had to cover my mouth not to scream. They all sat around the table. Then I saw my friend's husband sit at the table as well as my friend. But then they had these masks on. Masks that it made their eyes very glowy. and read. I did not know what was going on. After the feast, everyone started to leave. But then one of the creatures turned around, looked at my direction, and asked my friend and the husband, I thought you knew the rule was that every living thing must be sat at the table before we arrived. At this point, I knew I was no longer safe. I was dragged. This force dragged me next to the table. Before I knew it, I started receiving whips that it wasn't even anyone near me giving me those whips. It was whips coming all sorts of directions. I was screaming very loud, asking for forgiveness. And what happened next? People, even me sat here narrating this to you, telling you this story, is bringing me chills. You don't want to miss part 2, so please go to part 2.